Hello everybody, it's Dio from Firm But Fair Gaming, bringing you another video. Enjoying all the videos and content we produce, don't forget to click on that subscribe button, click on that like button, and don't be afraid to share. Don't forget to click on the notification button, customize it however you want, but that way you're notified whenever we publish another video. Hello everyone. Welcome to another Diablo 3 video here in Season 27. Today we are taking a look at the Necromancer. So in particular, this guide is going to be focused on the Trag'Oul's avatar build. So this is a Blood Siphon and a Death Nova build. So we're going to be taking a look at that. So while we jump into it, I'm just going to jump into a rift just to show you what it looks like, so you can see some gameplay, and then we'll break it down after that, looking at the skills and items and all that sort of thing. So here we go. Let's go. Okay, so we're just going to jump into a 110, give you a good sense. The build is actually pretty tanky, so we want to get our sims up right away, get some armor, and ideally we want to be surrounded. So this is a lot of what it's going to look like. It's just all this Death Nova, so we're blood siphoning, and then Death Nova is also going off at the same time. We want to get to 10 stacks of that, so every time we lose 10% health for casting the Death Nova, we get a buff. So now we're at 10, and we're just going to be enjoying that as we go along. So it's pretty straightforward. We're just going to jump into the middle of a whole bunch of things. We get to deal more damage based on how many things are around us. We're going to slowly build up to 10 on here. We have lots of life regen, so as you can see, we're just getting pounded, but at the same time we are just regenning so strongly, and then we just move on. The more enemies that are around us, the better we do, the more damage we do, because we get a buff based on that. Our real squishy parts is if there's things with like if you get frozen, because obviously when you're frozen you can't cast, or knockbacks, because it'll interrupt the channeled effect of your Siphon, which is pretty detrimental. That's about the only times I found myself in real jeopardy. Obviously, if there's tons of elites that you have up and there's all sorts of magic damage, of course, that is also going to be quite, I guess, scary, if we want to use that word, or I guess when we're most vulnerable. But otherwise, it is pretty tanky. In group play in particular, I just stand in the middle with a barb shout and all that stuff and just sit here and cast for days and days and days unaffected. So we're doing pretty good here. Again, this is just a 110. I did a 125 last night. It is very good on trash when we're surrounded, because as I was saying, we get amplified damage. On a single target, not so much, because we lose that amplified damage. So killing a Rift Guardian seems to be what takes quite a bit of time for us. At least in the 125, I think it was about 2 minutes on the Guardian. I didn't have a pylon when the Guardian spawned, so that also set me back a little bit. And it was one of the Guardians without ads, so that also made it a bit challenging as well. And also, you had to move a fair bit. I think it was Gom, if I remember correctly. So I had to do a lot of in and out due to the poisons. And so then, then I had to stop channeling the Blood Siphon. And then I'm not building stricken stacks as fast as I would like. As you can see here, it's pretty straightforward. I'm just getting into the middle of a bunch of packs, just nuking everything down, just doing the Blood Siphon blood, and that's about it. Rinse and repeat until we win. This has been used, or is being used at the moment, as one of the trash killers for 4s, which is one of the main reasons that I went with this build, because I was doing some group play. It's also used in trios as well, and it's people have been clearing 150s with this as the trash killer in the group play there, at about Paragon 11-1200. So it's like super efficient, super handy, and you're very tanky. I know it's not the most exciting in regards to that we're only just mashing the one button, but it's part of the meta right now, so that's always good. No complaints there. I mean, it is kind of fun in the way that we get to see how much we can actually get surrounded by, and then just watching our damage amplify accordingly. Oh, this is going to take a while probably too. I mean, it's a 110, so hopefully it's quicker, but it's going to take a little bit because Ferendi is one of the tankier Rift Guardians. Luckily, I can just sit here and ignore him. But this is the part that was a little bit frustrating in the 125. Is just how long it took to kill a Rift Guardian. We're slowly making progress. Obviously, this Stricken is going to start really paying off in a little bit. I should have another Oculus to spawn there, but I don't see it. Okay, let's go. Yeah, so this is the least exciting part of the build, is doing this, but this is why it's not an RGK. As you can see, the damage is starting to really amp up. I know we do run a Zeiss, but we're a little limited on range. We still want to be able to hit them with the Death Nova as well, so that puts us at just 25 yards. But as you can see here, we're starting to make progress. The Strickens are really amping up now. Yep, and there we go. And we're going to deal a lot more damage during the poison cycle as well, because we are running a COE. I'll just grab all this, and that's what it looks like in action. Okay, let's take a look at the items we are using. So as you can see here, we're only wearing 5 pieces of the set for the Trag'Ouls. So that means we're using Ring of the Royal Grandeur in the cube, and this opens up a little bit of flexibility. So we're also going to be wearing the Guardian's Jeopardy. So we got the 2 different sets here. So we need 2 pieces for the Guardians, and then the 5 for the Trag'Ouls. So the flexibility is that we also need the Mantle Channeling plus Dainty's Binding, which is in the cube, which is a belt. So if we want to wear the bindings, then we don't wear the helmet here, then we would wear the shoulders to complete the 5-piece set, because then for Jeopardy, for Guardian's Jeopardy, we would need the bracers and the helm. So it's kind of like based on whatever you have the best items, you might be able, like, you get the flexibility of mixing and matching as long as you get the 6-piece bonus and 3-piece, and of course you need to also have the shoulders and the belt. So a little bit of mix match flexibility that we have there. On top of that, we're also going to be wearing Haunted Visions for the neck, so this makes our sims last forever. Then we're also using Crisp and Sentence, so of course that is, we get to deal increased damage against slowed enemies, or triple this bonus against enemies that are affected by another other type of control impairment, so like if they're stunned. And then we're using Convention of Elements, so for this, I believe our spike is poison. Oh no, it's physical. One of them is poison, so the power shift here on the Siphon Blood is poison, and then we got physical on the Death Nova. So we're going to have a little bit of 2 spikes there. And then for our offhand here, so for our phylactery, we are using the Iron Rose, and this is because attacking with the Siphon Blood has a chance, 100% chance to cast a free Blood Nova. And then after we lose 10% life while casting like a Death Nova, we get an increased spike. So that's where you see here, that's the buff there. And then that can stack up to 10 times. And then it lasts for 60 seconds. So we'll get that to max, and it'll pretty much be on all the time. It'll auto cast while you're doing Siphon Blood, but you can manually cast it just to pick it up if you want it to accumulate faster. But do watch, you are sacrificing your life, so don't spam it too much and then get hit by something and die. Then lastly, for our weapon, we are using the Funerary Pick. So this is because Siphon Blood drains from 2 additional target, and each target takes 300% increased damage, and so forth. And now also, we use the Angelic Crucible to add an affix on here. So while in solo play, we want to be using the one where enemies within 50 yards are constantly assaulted by the army of the dead. And then in group play, you can continue to use the pick, or you could, I've seen the Scythe of the Cycle also being used. And then, where is my other pick? Because there's a certain affix that we want, and it wasn't on the Scythe, and I thought it was. So the other affix that we want for when we're doing group play is hitting enemies with Death Nova 5 consecutive times adds a spirit that afflicts an enemy every 5th cast. Up to 3 spirits can be sent at a time. So that's what we want for when we're doing group play. And so those are the items that we need. So now let's take a look at our legendary gems. So the gems that we're using in solo play, we're going to use Bane of the Trap. So of course, Bane of the Trap increases our damage against enemies under the effect of control impairing effects. So it's like slows and stuns. And then at rank 25, we gain an aura that reduces enemies' movement speed within 15 yards by 30%, thus proccing the bonus for the Bane of the Trap. We're also using our Bane of the Stricken, so each attack we make against an enemy increases the damage it takes from our attack. So it's like a stack, so it takes 1%, then 2, 4, etc. And then also at rank 25, the Guardians, we deal 25% increased damage against bosses and Rift Guardians, which is always handy. And then also our third gem that we're using here is Zai Stone of Vengeance. So damage you deal is increased by a certain percent for every 10 yards between you and the enemy you hit for a max of X%. And then also at rank 25, it's got a 20% chance on hit to stun the enemy for 1 second, which would proc Crispin's additional triple effect. In group play, you can also use Bane of the Powerful instead of the Stricken, because you won't be the RGK required to kill the Rift Guardian. There'll be somebody else doing that role, so you could use Bane of the Powerful, which is gain 20% increased damage for X seconds after killing an elite pack. And then at rank 25, we get 15% increased damage versus elites and take 15% less damage from them. So that is also a very viable option as well. Taking a look at the cube. So for our weapon slot, we are doing Blood Tide Blade. So Death Nova deals 400% increased damage for every enemy within 25 yards, up to 25 enemies. So this is why we want to be surrounded as best as possible. The more people attacking us, beating on us, the better. For our cube, we are either going to be having the Deity's Binding here, so we gain an additional 50% damage reduction when there is an enemy afflicted by any of our curses. And also, so if you're wearing bindings, obviously then you would have Mantle of Channeling in there. Then lastly, as previously mentioned, we're going to be rocking Ring of Royal Grandeur, so reduce the number of items needed for set bonuses by 1, which will let us wear our Trag'Ouls, as well as our Guardian's Jeopardy. Now, taking a look at our skills. So we're going to need the Frailty Curse. So we actually want to use Early Grave here. So that would put a curse on an enemy that as soon as they hit under 18% life, they just die instantly. I was being lazy earlier in when I was just doing some keys. And so I just wanted to rock the aura because I didn't want to cast it. But really you want to cast that because it's an extra 3%. And then another skill that we're going to be using is the Death Nova with Blood Nova. So we're going to spend health but unleash Blood Nova for 450%. And this is physical damage to all enemies within 25 yards. So that's the big redness. That's what that is. And now we also, our primary skill that we're going to be using Siphon Blood with Power Shift. So this is a channeled ability. If you want, you can just hold down the button, or you can numlock trick. So the numlock trick is you press the key and then hit numlock, and then he's just going to sit here and auto cast it. I believe you probably cast it faster if you manually hold it. I think there's something in like Windows setting about when it's numlock, there's some sort of delay, and just holding it down is a quicker thing, something like that. Somebody explained it to me once, wasn't 100% sure of the understanding, but that was what I got from it. Next, for our mobility, we're using Blood Rush with Potency. So after we Blood Rush, we're going to gain 100% armor for 2 seconds, so some survivability. For our another survivability, we're going with Bone Armor. So basically, this is going to take bones off the enemies, gives us stack, gives us defense, as well as when we hit them with it, they're going to be stunned. We can swap that out off Dislocation because you'll have a Z-Barb in group play. And so you could use, I believe, like Harvest of Anguish is pretty good. Yeah, I think that's what would be used if we're in group play, just for some mobility. You don't want this in group play because the Z-Barb will stomp or somebody else will stun, and you don't want to put it on DR. And then lastly, we're going with Simulacrum, so Blood and Bones. So create 2 sims made of your blood, and they will duplicate your secondary skills. For our passes, we are rocking Final Service, so this is our second life. If you're feeling very confident in yourself as well, you can just utilize a second life from your follower. And we're using Standalone, increase armor by 100%, reduce 10%, and then it's reduced by 10% by each minion that you have. Swift Harvesting, increase the attack speed of Bone Spikes, Siphon Blood, and Grim Scythe. So really the Siphon Blood is what we're going to get here. And then we have Spreading Malediction, receive a 1% bonus for each enemy afflicted by one of your curses. So when I'm running my Aura of Frailty, it's only getting the bonus from what's around me. But if you're manually casting that, you can spread it around for more than just what's around you, and you'll get a much better bonus from it. So that brings us to the end of the video. So it's pretty straightforward. We want to be, we'll put our sims up as soon as we get in. We want to get our bone armor going for survivability. And then ideally, we just want to be surrounded by as many people as possible so we can siphon blood and get our big death novas off and then just nuke them down over time. It's not a quick bursting build. I mean, unless you get absolutely surrounded and then you'll get that big burst of damage, but it is very consistent and is making steady progress. And I'm actually really enjoying it and looking forward to pushing more with it. But anyways, that's enough for me. So if you like this video, please click those buttons. We appreciate it. Likes, shares, and subscribes. If you have any questions or comments, please let us know, and I'll do my best to answer them. Also, we're streaming on Twitch, so please look in the description below. We'll have my Twitch in there. Come hang out with us. Come check it out. Run some keys. Would love to have you. I'm streaming not Tuesdays, Thursdays and Saturdays mainly, and then maybe a couple other days here and there. But Thursdays and Saturdays is going to be my dedicated days for this. So come hang out. Hope to see you there. And if I don't see you there, I hope to see you in the next video.